Hello and welcome to Business Arena on TVP World. I'm your host, Marie Cato. Let's go to the latest business headlines of the day. The Hungarian Central Bank has announced that it will leave interest rates unchanged following Tuesday's meeting. The decision comes amid the uncertainty caused by the US presidential election, the forint at its weakest level since 2022, and the economy in a technical recession. The action is in line with the bank's deputy governor Barnabas Virag's advice last month that the bank be ready to pause interest rate cuts for a sustained period if necessary. Virag's guidance came as the bank brought inflation within the target rate but started to worry about the weakening forint. The Hungarian currency performs against the euro and the dollar worse than its Central European peers like the Polish zloty or the Czech koruna. It has brought a period of consecutive cuts to a sudden halt, 8 in 2024 alone. The key interest rate in Hungary at 6.5% is the highest in the region, on a par with Romania. It's hard to believe, but 1,000 days have passed since Russia initiated its full-scale invasion of Ukraine on February 24, 2022. Since then, both the Ukrainian military and the Ukrainian economy have shown incredible resilience.
After 100 days of war, Ukraine's economy is unsurprisingly not turning heads, but it's certainly not a basket case. Inflation is at about 10% and interest rates are easing. They're at 13% right now, but further cuts are expected.
So we are not having hyperinflation. We are not having exchange rate depreciation by 50% or 60%. We have, I cannot say normal economy, but it's everything is not that bad.
In terms of GDP growth, we can see the incredible hit the country took in 2022 after the full-scale invasion began. Since then, however, the country is slowly rebuilding, with the economy forecasted to grow 4% this year. This will be driven by construction, transport and processing. But next year, as the war rages on, staff shortages and an energy deficit increase will slow the growth down to 2.7%. Ukraine would not be able to do this alone, however.
Obviously, we will have more problems without Western support, so it's really helpful and it allows us to pay salaries for teachers, for medics, for doctors, and we are thankful for this support.
Since the beginning of the full-scale invasion, Ukraine has been receiving hundreds of billions of dollars worth of aid, with nearly $80 billion in 2022 and nearly $100 billion in 2024, more than a third of which has been financial aid. In terms of material damages suffered by Ukraine over the past 1,000 days, estimates vary.
The last estimates that I have seen, that have also been done by Case Institute, it was around $160 billion of direct damages.
This figure could reach up to $200 billion by the end of 2024, however. Looking ahead, all things remaining the same, the World Bank estimates that the total recovery and reconstruction will require over double that figure. As the lost assets will be rebuilt with the latest technology, they're looking at $486 billion.
And on the bottom line today, we mark 1,000 days of Ukraine's battle against Russia's invasion. We're going to look at the current economic situation in the country and the impact of the war over the last few years. Join us for the bottom line coming up right after the news. Poland's defense industry once harbored high hopes of boosting weapons exports. However, despite expectations of lucrative contracts, especially with neighboring Ukraine, those ambitions have yet to materialize.
After the full-scale invasion of Ukraine, Polish defense contractors anticipated a surge in demand for their equipment. In 2022, the state-owned company PGZ sold the country 54 self-propelled howitzers and hoped for further orders. However, the reality has been quite different. Ukraine has been cautious to purchase Polish weapons, often opting for military aid and supplies from other countries.
While at the beginning we could achieve more with the Ukrainians because they were in greater need, Today the expectations are higher. They know they have substantial funding from the European Union and continued support from the United States. They aren't just looking for standard purchases from any country. Their experts want to participate in the production process.
PGZ hoped it could sell the Ukrainian armed forces more mobile artillery, armored personnel carriers, and rockets for air defense systems. The total value of those contracts would amount to a couple of billion euros, but none came to fruition. Fortunately, the private sector stepped in with Polish company WB Electronics supplying Kyiv with Fly-Eye drones and Warmate loitering munitions. The question is, what went wrong?
For Poland, it's both a blessing and a curse to have such a large internal market. If our industry were more like the Czech one, which focuses less on modernization projects, the Polish defense sector might be seeking markets elsewhere. Technological delays, lack of funding for development, and reliance on credit-based purchases add to the challenges. It's a great pity that we've been talking about the Russian threat since 2014, but we haven't done much over these years to strengthen our industry. We could be one of the leaders in ammunition production today. Unfortunately, we only realized this after 2022.
On Tuesday, the Deputy State Assets Minister announced that the government is working on a new strategy for the defense sector with a focus on R&D activity. Only time will tell whether it'll supercharge the Polish defense industry.
Customers of Poland-based fintech company Revolut will now be able to use the instant payment system BLIK. The introduction of this change should help BLIK reach its ambitious objectives set for the year. The popularity of BLIK has been skyrocketing over the past few years with more than 4 million customers across Poland. Founded in Poland, the system allows users to make instant payments both in stores as well as online. Revolut is hopeful that adding the BLIK feature will make the already popular banking service the most popular in the country. With over 625 million transactions conducted in the third quarter of 2024, BLIK officials are hopeful this figure will surpass 2.5 billion by the end of the year. Now available in Slovakia, BLIK plans to expand soon into the wider euro area as well as Romania. Energy and carbon-intensive companies in Poland will receive a record amount of aid this year. This cash paid by the government is meant to offset high costs related to CO2 emissions.
This is steel production in Kraków, and it's very carbon-intensive. Carbon and energy-intensive industries have to pay for CO2 emissions, which increases costs. To offset them, these companies can file for reimbursements. This year, such reimbursements will total 600 million euros, the highest amount since the scheme was introduced in 2019. The names on the list of reimbursed industries does not come as a surprise. Almost one-third of the aid will go towards smelters and metalworks, and another one-third towards paper industry. The 600 million euros sum will be disbursed to only 97 companies. The record amount is the direct result of skyrocketing costs of emission allowances. For the larger part of 2023, the allowances cost more than 80 euros per ton of CO2. That's why the aid amount has reached a record level, because companies are only now reimbursed for that year. Since the beginning of the reimbursement scheme, the Polish government has shelled out almost 1.5 billion euros. The money comes from the profits the government makes on selling CO2 allowances.
And that's all for our business news updates today. For more business stories, check out tvpworld.com.